1111 quantitative literacy. How are you on this dreary, slushy kind of morning out here up in Callicoon, New York? Probably even wetter and rainier down by New Jersey. But I did find out that school districts in Brewster and Mahopac, New York, which is kind of between the two of us, are snow days today. So I don't know what's going on in New Jersey on this particular day, but there's so much good in the world, and we got to focus on it and find it. So what we're doing here, I show you a picture of one of my hobbies, which is photography, and I love taking pictures of waterfalls and trying to find the coolest, most appealing way to photograph such things. So what we're talking about in this particular unit is all about money management and how it can help you become a better teacher. But before we can manage our money, we have to become a teacher, which means we need to do well on this PRAXIS test. So I always like to start the lesson off with a handful of PRAXIS questions. You'd be surprised how, if you can just get 3, 4, 5 questions that used to get wrong and suddenly get them right, how that tips you into the passing scale on the math section of that test. So here are PRAXIS problems for today. Go ahead, give it a try. You know the drill. Stop and start. Okay, so the probability of any event E is the number of ways to do that event E over the total number of possibilities. So in this case, we're looking for an ace or a 5. And remember, there is an ace of clubs, an ace of diamonds, an ace of hearts, and an ace of spades. And also a 5 of clubs, a 5 of diamonds, a 5 of hearts, and a 5 of spades. So altogether, there are 8 aces and 5s, it should say, out of 52 possible cards, which is 8 out of 52, which is 2 out of 13 when you reduce it. Okay? Next up. I think this will be our last time that we have the Mr. Bray's famous dice roller's idiot chart to work with. Go ahead. So what cues us in here that we need this table, if you will, to explore the possibilities is that there's 2 dice and you're getting a sum of those 2 dice. So here's my chart. The top row is a one of the die, and the column on the left is the other die, and in between represent all of the sums. So I want a sum of 4 or 8. So there's 4. Remember, the sums are only between the red lines. So there's 3 4s, and there's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 when you add in the 5 8s, or 6 8s, I'm sorry. No. Hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's a total of 8 4s or 8s. So we get 8/36 because there's 36 possible outcomes. That's how many there are between the red lines. And 8/36 reduces to 2/9. Okay, let's do another one with the charter bus. I think we're going to change this for next time too. Okay, so what do we got here? Well, let's start with the bus. It's going 60 miles an hour for 8 hours. The hours, of course, cancel out, and that leaves you with 60 times 8 is 480 miles. The car, on the other hand, not limited by, I think they put a monitor on the gas pedal of a bus so it can't go too fast. Cars, on the other hand, do not have that, and that's not an invitation for you to speed, especially when you're young, okay? The hours get canceled out. 75 times 8 is 600 miles. So how many more miles did the car go than the bus? It went 600 minus 480, 120 miles more. Or you could have looked at it as, look, if you go 75 miles an hour compared to 60, you're going 15 miles an hour more. And then times that by 8 hours, and you get 120 miles. Okay, we got another stop and start. Ignore the choice. Ignore the choices down below. Just do this as a straight problem, okay? Okay, so the percent increase is the absolute difference over the reference or the original amount. So if I'm going 2005 to 2003, I'm going 1817, which is 2005 number, minus 1300, which is the 2003 number, over the 1300, because you always want to do the references, and it says compared to those sold in 2003. So that's why you're using the 1300. 517 over 1300 is 0.398, which is a 39.8% increase. Next up, go ahead. Okay. So, this is a simple interest situation. Okay. I'm basing that on the fact that it's a man loaning to his friend. So if I compute the simple interest, I equals PRT, I equals PERT. That's 10,000 times 0.07 times, I am assuming 1 year here, okay? I checked the numbers with 1 year, one of the choices works. So that's why I'm assuming 1 year. They really still should have done a much better job in terms of saying how many years it was. So that's $700. But remember, the amount you have to pay back is the amount you borrowed plus the 700. So altogether, you owe 10,700. And if you subtract the 5,035, that leaves you with 5665, and that is the last choice up there. All right, so those are all the review questions that we have for today's lessons. I should say all the praxis review questions we have for today's lessons. And really, the idea is to get you comfortable with the kind of questions they ask and to develop in you a certain sense of strategy and a certain sense of, hey, I've seen these questions types before when you take the test.